In the year 1879, on an island in New Zealand, Mr. Jones and two twin brothers, Johann and Leonard, enter the forest on Rangitoto Island. They are holding a mysterious stone capable of emitting a yellow light when they hear a strange noise nearby. Suddenly, Johann is captured by a monster and his brother asks Mr. Jones to help him. However, he just stands there and Leonard shouts for his brother, with the fate of the three explorers remaining a mystery. In the present day, siblings Theo and Rachel are on their way home from school when they see a police car in front of their house. As well as being fraternal twins, the two have a telepathic connection and can read each other's thoughts. Theo notices that his sister is worried and the girl rushes home, where she finds out from their father that their mother lost her life in a tragic accident. As a result, Theo and Rachel are sent to the city of Auckland, where they will live for a while with their aunt and uncle, Kay and Cliff. After a long journey, the two arrive at the station and Rachel tries to communicate telepathically with Theo, but is unsuccessful. Since losing his mother, the young man refuses to accept his grief and tries to hide his emotions, which interferes with his connection with his sister. Finally, the two are met by their cousin Ricky, who takes them to the luxurious house where his family lives. As well as living opposite the crater of a volcano, the place is surrounded by a huge lake, and on the other side, Theo notices an old mansion falling apart. When evening comes, the family gathers in the living room for a snack and Theo asks if anyone still lives there. Ricky tells him that the old house belongs to the Wilberforce family, the eldest of whom is a strange fellow who doesn't interact with his neighbors. Several urban legends have been created about him, including that his house used to be a morgue. All this talk leaves Rachel frightened and everything only gets worse when, suddenly, a strong tremor begins to hit the whole town. In a few seconds, things return to normal, but these earthquakes are caused by the volcano, which has been dormant for hundreds of years. The next morning, Theo decides to take a closer look at the crater, when he finds none other than Mr. Jones, sitting on a bench. The man holds the two stones that were with Johann and Leonard, but when he sees the young man approaching, he tells him to get out of there. The young man obeys, but the volcano gets him interested and he decides to do some more research. He is surprised to see that one of the photos in the book shows the same guy he met in front of the crater. Meanwhile, Rachel decides to take a boat trip around the lake and finds the old Wilberforce house. However, as she approaches, she ends up catching a lock of hair in the tree branch in front of the property. To make matters worse, the lock is seen by Lord Wilberforce, who looks at the girl with a menacing gaze. Frightened, Rachel leaves, and at bedtime, she goes to her brother's room to tell him what has happened. However, he still doesn't want to talk to his sister and sends her to sleep, leaving Rachel frustrated, and she closes the window curtains, taking one last look at the old lake house. However, as she does so, the Wilberforces appear gathered in front of the window, as if they are interested in the twin siblings. Another morning passes and Uncle Cliff invites the two to go fishing in his boat. After catching a few fish, they return to the shore when Rachel smells a strong odor. She calls Theo to see where the smell is coming from and they find an old hearse parked next to it. The young man decides to open the trunk and finds the vehicle full of a gooey substance with a terrible smell. With no idea what it could be, Rachel thinks it's best to leave, but Theo becomes curious and believes that this car has something to do with the Wilberforce house. When night falls, he decides to go to the old mansion, but Rachel sees him leaving the house and decides to go along. When they break into the house, they find the same substance as the car covering the whole place, and suddenly they hear voices outside. Quickly, the siblings hide between the walls, and then Mr. Wilberforce appears, along with one of his colleagues. The two talk about beings known as gargantuas, and that very soon, they will be freed. However, there is someone who can stop this, known only as the Firemaker. Lord Wilberforce explains that if this creator finds twin brothers with a strong connection, the plan to bring the gargantuas back will be ruined. After the conversation, the two jump into a hole in the ground and Theo calls Rachel to continue investigating the place. When they look into the hole, it appears to be closed, but soon afterwards, the gooey substance inside it opens up, scaring Theo into releasing his flashlight. Afraid of being discovered, the two run away, but outside the house, Mr. Wilberforce manages to spot the two intruders. As soon as they return home, Rachel asks why her brother has gone there, but he doesn't want to talk and tells her to leave him alone. She then tries to speak telepathically, saying that she's been lonely since the loss of their mother and really needs her brother's support. However, this only makes Theo even angrier and he leaves, warning his sister not to enter his mind again. After the discussion, the young man takes another look at the book, and when he sees the picture of Mr. Jones, he suspects that the mysterious guy is the Firemaker. Because of this, the next morning he wakes Ricky up and the two of them go to the crater together, in search of the man who was sitting on the bench. While Ricky waits in the car, Theo goes to the site, and when he meets Mr. Jones, he says he knows about the firemaker. The guy tries to deny everything, but when Theo tells him that he and his sister were discovered by Mr. Wilberforce, Mr. Jones fears that the two of them are in danger. His suspicions are confirmed when one of the Wilberforces appears in the distance on the mountain watching them. With no other choice, Mr. Jones decides to help the young man, and the two of them get into Ricky's car and drive back to their home. In the meantime, Rachel goes to look for Theo, but finds no one at home. Shortly afterwards, she hears someone knocking on the door, and on the other side, a policeman appears and tells her to open the door. But when she refuses, the guy starts banging on the door hard, and then the handle starts to melt. As soon as he gets inside, he turns out to be one of the Wilberforces in disguise, with a scary face and tentacles coming out of his hands. Rachel tries to attack the guy with a cane, but it doesn't harm him, and he changes his appearance, taking on the form of Lord Wilberforce. The girl then runs towards the stairs, but is grabbed by the creature's tentacles, which begin to infect her with a type of poison. Luckily, she manages to get free and runs towards the lake, where she jumps into the water to hide. Lord Wilberforce goes out to look for her, but doesn't find her, and believing that the girl has been eliminated by the poison, he decides to leave. Minutes later, Theo and the others return home to find the place completely destroyed. Desperate, he goes looking for his sister and finds her still alive, but her arm is contaminated by the Wilberforce poison. Fortunately, Mr. Jones uses fire magic to cure the girl before it's too late. Even so, they need to get out of there before the Wilberforce discover that Rachel is still alive. So he asks the Silbings to gather before him, and using yet another spell, Mr. Jones transports them to his hideout. Once there, the three of them gather in the room, and the man reveals that he is the creator of fire, having come from a very distant planet. Years ago, his planet was attacked by the Wilberforces, a race of predatory aliens with a thirst for conquest. One day, they met the Gargantuas, giant beings with the power to destroy entire worlds, and learned to tame them, causing destruction everywhere. To stop their evil plans, Mr. Jones, along with other residents of his planet, set out in search of these creatures. They found them on Earth, and using their powers, imprisoned them in 7 locations in New Zealand. With the Gargantuas trapped, the Wilberforces have been trying to bring them back for all these years. That day is getting closer, and the only way to defeat them is through 2 artifacts, called the Firestones. They are given to Lord Jones' people, with all of them being born twins and developing a strong connection with each other. Unfortunately, his brother ended up losing his life on Earth, and as the stones only work through the connection between the twins, he was unable to eliminate the alien threat on his own. Now you have to throw the rocks into the crater on Rangitoto Island, so that the power of fire can spread to the 7 hiding places and destroy the Gargantuas. However, to activate the power of the stones, the twins need to be connected, and Mr. Jones believes that Theo and Rachel are capable of using them. Theo takes one of them and tries to concentrate its energy, causing the stone to emit a strong yellow light. At that moment, the young man sees the former owners of the stones, Leonard and Johann, who ended up losing their lives during the mission to reach the crater. However, when Rachel's turn comes, the energy becomes so intense that the stone burns her hand. The girl leaves the room, frustrated by what has happened, and Mr. Jones explains that if the connection between the siblings, called gemiality, is out of balance, the Firestones won't work. Aware that the connection has been damaged because of him, Theo goes to talk to his sister and apologizes for the way he has been acting in recent days. The conversation is interrupted, however, when 2 policemen show up at the scene, saying they've been sent by Kate and Cliff to find the nephews. While Mr. Jones stays at the police station to be questioned, Rachel and Theo's aunt and uncle show up and take them back home. When they get there, the couple scold them for destroying the house and then sneaking off with a strange guy. Ricky tries to defend his cousins and explain what happened, but Cliff believes that his son was also involved in it and puts the 3 of them grounded. At bedtime, Rachel watches the Wilberforce house, fearing that they might try to break in. However, Theo is more interested in learning how to control the energy in the Firestone, and says that when everyone goes to sleep, he'll go after Mr. Jones. Meanwhile, the guy is still at the police station being questioned by the officers, who haven't found any documents in his name. Mr. Jones tries to explain the truth and warns them that if they don't help him, the world will end soon. As expected, none of the police believe him and warn him that if he doesn't cooperate with the investigation, he'll spend a long time in jail. Back at Cliff's house, Theo takes a nap, but Rachel can't sleep and hears someone calling outside. When she goes outside to see who it is, she meets Mr. Jones, who claims to have escaped from the police station and calls her to come to the Wilberforce house. Seconds later, the alarm on Theo's watch goes off and he wakes up, but doesn't find Rachel in their room. He goes after her and sees his sister following Mr. Jones to the old house and runs towards her. As soon as he enters the house, Mr. Jones disappears, and instead Mr. Wilberforce appears, along with his henchmen. They try to attack Rachel, but Theo stands in front of his sister and invokes the power of the Fire Stone, causing the creatures to retreat. The two of them then try to escape up the stairs, but Rachel is captured by one of the Wilberforce, who traps her using his tentacles. Theo tries to help her, and to his surprise, the stone fires a powerful blast of fire, causing the alien to move away. The two brothers rush to get away, but end up in a corridor without exit, with the aliens coming towards them. Theo tries to chase them away with the stone, but Lord Wilberforce is undeterred, saying that he will eliminate them, just as he did the other twins who helped the firemaker. The guy reveals that in the past, the brothers Johann and Leonard were eliminated by them, and Mr. Jones did nothing to help them. Finally, Lord Wilberforce spreads his tentacles around the corridor, advancing towards the twins. However, Rachel notices that the floor of the corridor is fragile and has the idea of jumping, so that the weight will make them fall into the main hall. The plan works, but despite this, the Wilberforce are still nearby and they need to think of another way to escape. Theo sees the same hole in the ground, and with no other way out, he jumps through the opening, followed by Rachel. Meanwhile, at the police station, Mr. Jones senses that the teenagers are in danger and needs to help them. He takes advantage of the fact that the policeman has left the room to have a coffee, and using his flames, he teleports away. At the same moment, the siblings reach the bottom of the hole and encounter one of the gargantua, a monster shaped like a giant insect. Then they hear someone approaching, and when they see another portal around the cave, they both go through it, hoping to find a way out. Far away, Ricky is outdoors with his girlfriend when Mr. Jones teleports right next to him. He tells the young man that he needs help to rescue the siblings, and even though he's forced to leave his girlfriend, Ricky agrees to go along. In the meantime, Theo and Rachel arrive at yet another cave, but the girl sees another portal in the ceiling, from which salt water is pouring out. The two decide to enter through the opening and reach the sea, where they see Rangitoto Island in the distance. The siblings hurry to reach the shore, but are surrounded by the Wilberforce, who emerge from the water to capture them. Once again, Theo focuses his energy on the Firestone, but this time it shoots out a strong circular flame, setting all the creatures on fire. Even so, they are not destroyed and prepared to counterattack, but luckily Mr. Jones and Ricky arrive by car and take the siblings away. As they set off along the road, Mr. Jones tells them that they need to get to Rangitoto Island, but to do so they'll have to cross the sea. Ricky then decides to look for his father's speedboat in hiding and asks Theo and Rachel to wait for him, along with Mr. Jones. While they wait for him to return, Theo demands to know what happened to the twins and why Mr. Jones abandoned them. The guy tells them that when they arrived on the island, Johann was captured by the Wilberforce, and seeing that the power of the stone doesn't manifest with just one of them, Mr. Jones was forced to flee. With that, he left Leonard, who shortly afterwards was also captured by the creatures. Upon discovering the truth, Theo becomes enraged and says that he will face the Wilberforce alone, but Lord Jones tells him that he will only be able to defeat them if he is connected to Rachel. However, the young man doesn't believe his words and leaves, even though his sister asks him not to. Unable to convince him, Rachel tries to help Lord Jones, who is increasingly weakened by having used his power so many times. Things only get worse when they hear the creatures approaching and have to flee. In another part of the city, Ricky is on his way home when he meets his girlfriend halfway. With no time to explain, he asks her to help him on his mission, and even though she doesn't know what Ricky is trying to do, she accepts. The couple then collect the boat and are about to leave the house when they come across Cliff, who tries to stop them. Ricky tries to explain to his father that he needs to do something important, but he demands that the young man get out of the car. The young man refuses and Cliff begins to undergo a strange transformation, revealing himself to be one of the Wilberforces in disguise. The couple despair and try to drive away, but the alien grabs Ricky by the neck with its tentacles and they are dragged along the road. The young man asks his girlfriend to hold the wheel, then opens the car door, pushing the alien straight into the road. Even so, Wilberforce summons his car, and with it begins to chase Ricky and his girlfriend, who set off in the direction of the river. When they get there, they put the boat in the water and are about to set off, when they see the car cross the road and fall straight into the river. Immediately afterwards, the creature jumps out of the car and starts swimming quickly across the sea towards Rangitoto Island. At the same time, Ricky arrives at the place arranged to meet the siblings, but sees only Theo, who jumps into the speedboat and says he'll go alone to the island. The three of them set off by sea, and when they reach the island, Theo arms himself with the fire stone and runs towards the forest. However, he ends up leaving Rachel and Mr. Jones alone, with the two of them being chased by the aliens. Fortunately, after leaving Theo on the island, Ricky returns to rescue the two, moments before they are attacked by the Wilberforce. Shortly afterwards, the group heads back to Rangitoto Island, with Rachel rushing into the forest to help her brother. Mr. Jones, however, believes it's too late and thinks it's best for the two of them to flee the island before they too are eliminated. However, Rachel refuses and says that she won't abandon her brother, just as he did Johann and Leonard. Upon hearing this, Mr. Jones is overcome with remorse and decides to help the girl find Theo and put an end to the Wilberforce threat. They need to act quickly, because at the moment, Theo is facing the creatures alone, and even with the power of the stone, he isn't strong enough to defeat them all. Lord Jones then uses his last strength to transport them to where Theo is, but they soon come up against Lord Wilberforce. To protect Rachel, he gives her the fire stone and tells the girl that she needs to trust the energy she and her brother share. Rachel follows his advice and tries to control the firepower again, but once more she feels her hand burn with the energy. Lord Wilberforce takes the opportunity to attack the girl, but Lord Jones stands before him and challenges him to one last confrontation. However, as he has already used up all his energy, the creature easily grabs him with its tentacles and begins to poison him. Unable to defend himself, Mr. Jones bursts into flames and disappears, having sacrificed himself to defend the twins. Despite this, Mr. Wilberforce also holds Rachel with his tentacles, and when Theo arrives on the scene, his sister is already infected by the poison. The young man tries once again to activate the power of the flames, but he can't and the aliens begin to surround him. As Mr. Jones had warned him, the power of the stones comes from the twins' connection, and now he can no longer summon the flames. This seems to be the end, but in an act of desperation, Theo tries to communicate with his sister through telepathy, asking her to help him once again. Thanks to the connection between the siblings, Rachel finally awakens the power of the fire stone, and her body is completely covered in flames. With such energy, the twins join hands and throw the power of fire towards the crater on Rangitoto Island. Thanks to this, the flames soon spread to the 7 points where the gargantuas are hiding, destroying them all. The Wilberforce try to resist, but the energy spreads throughout the island, disintegrating them all at once. With the alien thread destroyed, the two siblings run to the speedboat, where they celebrate their victory with Ricky and his girlfriend. Finally, the two siblings can return home, now more united than ever, certain that they have saved the world, with the help of Lord Jones and the Firestones.